I, 32M, need to give some background here. I lost my daughter Amelia to leukemia when she was 15, about 5 years ago. The battle was brutal, 2 years of watching my bright, beautiful girl fade away. During her final months, Amelia talked about wanting to help other kids with cancer. She'd made friends in the hospital and saw how many families struggled with medical bills, let alone thinking about college. After she passed, I was a mess. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, just existed really. My way of coping was to set up a college fund in her memory. The idea was to help kids who survived cancer get an education. I dumped most of my savings into it, about $100,000 from Amelia's original college fund, her life insurance, and my savings. I kept adding $1,000 monthly for my salary as an IT manager. 2 years after Amelia died, I met Tiffany, 30F, through mutual friends. She was different from anyone I'd dated since losing Amelia. Most women got weird when I mentioned having a deceased child, but Tiffany seemed genuinely caring. She'd ask about Amelia, look at photos, even visited her grave with me. She has a son, Jordan, 11M, from her previous marriage. His dad Kevin walked out when Jordan was 2, never paid a dime in child support, completely vanished. Tiffany worked part-time at this fancy boutique while I handled most bills. We merged finances after marriage except for Amelia's memorial fund. I was clear about that from day one, that money was sacred, meant to honor Amelia's wish to help others. Tiffany said she understood, even suggested we could add to it together. Jordan's a good kid, quiet and bookish like Amelia was. Maybe that's partly why I connected with him. I tried stepping up as a stepdad, helped with homework, taught him to ride a bike, went to his school events. His dad's abandonment left some scars, but we were working through it. Or so I thought. Everything seemed fine until about 6 months ago. I started noticing small changes in Tiffany. Whenever I'd mention Amelia's fund or talk about the scholarship committee, she'd get twitchy, find reasons to leave the room. She bought a lot of new stuff but always had excuses, sales, work bonuses, her sister's hand-me-downs. I didn't question it much because I trusted her. Then last week, I got this call from our bank about suspicious activity on Amelia's memorial account. Someone had changed the notification settings, but a new system update restored them. When I logged in, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Over $40,000 was gone, siphoned out over the past year. I dug through the transactions and felt sick. $3,000 at Nordstrom. $2,000 at Sephora. A family trip to Disney World that I thought Tiffany's parents had paid for as Jordan's birthday gift. Spa weekends. Designer clothes. All this time, they were spending Amelia's fund like a personal shopping account. I confronted Tiffany that night after Jordan went to bed. I laid out the bank statements and waited for an explanation. She broke down immediately, crying about how Jordan felt overshadowed by Amelia's memory. Said he needed to feel special too, deserved nice things. When I brought up the spa trips and designer shopping, she got defensive. Said being a stepmom to a ghost was hard, that I loved my dead daughter more than her living son. That's when something in me snapped. This wasn't about Jordan feeling special, she'd used my dead daughter's memorial fund for luxury shopping and vacations. She violated not just my trust, but Amelia's memory. What was meant to help sick kids went to designer handbags and spa days. I told them to pack and leave. Tiffany tried guilt-tripping me about throwing out a child, but I was done. Jordan was crying, confused. That was the hardest part, he didn't understand why his world was imploding. But I couldn't have them in the house another night. They're staying with Tiffany's sister Sandra now. Her entire family is attacking me on social media and phone, calling me heartless for kicking out a mother and child. My own sister thinks I should try counseling first, says marriage means working through hard times. But they don't understand. This wasn't a normal marriage problem like cheating or growing apart. She stole from dead children with cancer. I filed for divorce last week. My lawyer's investigating how much we can recover. Every night I sit in Amelia's room, untouched since she passed, looking at her photos. She was so excited about that fund, spent her last months talking about helping other kids. Now it's been looted for shopping sprees and Disney trips. Some friends say I'm overreacting, that marriage means sharing everything. But Amelia's fund wasn't our money to share. It was supposed to help kids like her, kids fighting the same battle she lost. Tiffany knew that. She knew what it meant to me, saw me add to it every month, heard me talk about the kids it would help. Now I'm sleeping in Amelia's room because I can't stand our bedroom. Everything there reminds me of Tiffany's betrayal. Jordan left his game console on in the living room when they left, probably hoping they'd be back soon. His school books are still on the kitchen table. But every time I consider giving Tiffany another chance, I remember her words about Amelia being just a ghost, about Jordan deserving the money more than sick kids. I know kicking them out seems harsh. Jordan's innocent in this, and it kills me to hurt him. But I can't get past what Tiffany did. She didn't just steal money, she stole from my daughter's legacy, from kids fighting cancer. That's not something I can forgive. Update 1: Things have gotten way more complicated since my last post. I didn't think it could get worse than stealing from a cancer fund, but somehow Tiffany managed to prove me wrong. Last Saturday, Tiffany's sister Sandra showed up at my door unannounced. I almost didn't answer, but then I heard Jordan crying. Sandra brought him along, thinking I'd soften up seeing him. Jordan looked terrible, red eyes, messy hair, wearing the Pokemon shirt I got him for his birthday. He kept asking if he could just grab his games and school stuff. I let them in because I couldn't stand seeing the kid like that. While Jordan went to collect his things, Sandra started in on me. She had this whole speech prepared about family and forgiveness, how Tiffany made a mistake but deserved another chance. I stayed quiet, letting her talk. Then she dropped something that changed everything. Turns out Tiffany hadn't just been stealing for shopping sprees. She'd tracked down Jordan's biological dad, Kevin, about a year ago. Remember him? The deadbeat who vanished when Jordan was 2? Well, Tiffany found him on Facebook living in Florida. Instead of telling me, she started sending him money from Amelia's fund to reconnect with Jordan. At first, Sandra thought sharing this would help Tiffany's case, show she was just trying to be a good mom, give Jordan his father back. But then she found out more. The Disney World trip I mentioned in my last post? Kevin was there too. Tiffany paid for his ticket, his hotel room, everything. She'd been hiding all this from everyone, even her own family. When Sandra discovered the full story last week, she started digging. Kevin wasn't some reformed dad trying to make amends. He's a professional con man with a string of abandoned families across 3 states. He'd been playing Tiffany, feeding her sob stories about wanting to be in Jordan's life but needing money to get back on his feet. I called my lawyer right after Sandra left. While going through financial records, we found something even more disturbing. Tiffany had opened 3 credit cards in my name over the past year. The total damage? Another $25,000 in debt. She forged my signature on the applications, used my social security number, everything. When confronted about the credit cards, Tiffany claimed it was all for Jordan, tutoring, sports equipment, school trips. But the charges tell a different story. High-end restaurants in Miami where Kevin lives. Designer shopping sprees. Beauty treatments. Hotel rooms. She'd been financing some kind of fantasy life with Kevin using both Amelia's fund and fraudulent credit cards. The worst part came yesterday. My lawyer found emails between Tiffany and Kevin planning their future together. They'd been plotting to drain as much money as possible from me before Tiffany filed for divorce. Kevin promised to leave his current girlfriend and move in with Tiffany once they had enough cash. The Disney trip wasn't about Jordan meeting his dad, it was Tiffany and Kevin reconnecting while using Jordan as cover. Jordan had no idea about any of this. Sandra showed me texts between him and his cousin where he talked about meeting his dad at Disney, how excited he was thinking his family might be whole again. Tiffany and Kevin used his hope for a reunion to mask their affair. That's what makes me the angriest, not just stealing from dead kids, but manipulating an 11-year-old's emotions for cover. I've frozen all accounts Tiffany had access to and reported the credit card fraud. My lawyer says we have a solid case for criminal charges, but I'm hesitating because of Jordan. Kid's been through enough without seeing his mom arrested. Sandra agrees, she's actually apologized for defending Tiffany initially and is helping gather evidence for the divorce. Tiffany's still playing victim to anyone who'll listen, saying I drove her to desperate measures by not treating Jordan like my own son. But people are starting to see through it. 3 of her closest friends called me to apologize for believing her lies. They'd all loaned her money over the past year, thinking she needed help with Jordan's school expenses. Turns out those loans funded her trips to see Kevin. The revelation about Kevin explains so much, the secret phone calls, the sudden business trips, why she fought so hard against installing home security cameras. I kept thinking she was acting weird because of guilt over stealing from Amelia's fund. Truth is, she was running a whole secret life. Sandra's keeping Jordan with her for now. Tiffany's furious about this but Sandra doesn't trust her sister anymore. She caught Tiffany telling Jordan it was my fault his dad left again, that I ruined their chance to be a family. Jordan's in therapy now, trying to process all this betrayal. I've started working with a forensic accountant to trace every penny Tiffany stole. Not just for the divorce, but because I need to know exactly how much she took from kids with cancer to fund her affair with a con man. Early estimates suggest it's closer to $60,000 when you add everything up. My lawyer says we can probably get Kevin on fraud charges too. Apparently, he's pulled similar scams before, reconnecting with ex-girlfriends, bleeding them dry, then vanishing. Tiffany was just his latest target, but unlike his other victims, she stole from others to keep him interested. I thought kicking them out was the hardest part of all this. Now I'm dealing with identity theft, fraud, and watching an 11-year-old's heartbreak all over again. At least I know I made the right call ending things when I did. God knows how much more damage Tiffany would have done if that bank alert hadn't exposed her spending. Update 2: The divorce proceedings started last week, and every day brings new revelations about Tiffany's deceptions. Remember that boutique job she had? Turns out she was fired 6 months ago for stealing merchandise. My lawyer got a statement from her former manager. Tiffany had been taking designer clothes and reselling them online. When caught, she begged them not to press charges, promised to pay everything back. Guess where that repayment money came from? Yep, Amelia's fund and those fraudulent credit cards. The manager felt sorry for Tiffany, believed her story about struggling with a sick mother and needing money for medical bills. In reality, she was sending the cash to Kevin. Bank records show she wired him over $30,000 in the past year alone. That's not counting the gifts, hotels, and that Disney trip. Kevin showed his true colors as soon as the money stopped flowing. He ghosted Tiffany completely, blocked her number, deleted his Facebook account. Tiffany had a complete meltdown when she couldn't reach him. She showed up at my office, hysterical, demanding I unfreeze the account so she could fix things with Kevin. Security had to escort her out. Sandra finally saw her sister for who she really is. The last straw was finding Tiffany's diary where she'd written about her plans with Kevin. They weren't just having an affair, they were plotting to clean out all my accounts, including Amelia's fund, then file for divorce claiming emotional abuse. Tiffany would get half of everything, and they'd start a new life together. Sandra kicked them out after reading this. Tiffany and Jordan are sleeping on her parents' couch now. But here's what really got to me. While going through divorce paperwork, I discovered Tiffany had been systematically lying about my relationship with Amelia. She told everyone, including Jordan, that Amelia was my stepdaughter, not my biological child. She downplayed our relationship to justify using the memorial fund. After all, in her twisted logic, if Amelia wasn't really my daughter, why should her fund matter more than Jordan's needs? She even told Jordan that Amelia's fund should rightfully be his college money since he's the real child in my life now. No wonder the poor kid felt conflicted about the Disney trip. Tiffany convinced him he deserved that money more than some random sick kids he'd never met. The scholarship committee that oversees Amelia's fund is devastated. We had promised support to 3 kids starting college next fall. Now I'm scrambling to replace the stolen money so these kids don't lose their chance at education. 2 of my friends from work started a fundraiser to help. I broke down when I saw that. Tiffany's parents finally learned the whole truth yesterday. They came to see me, horrified by what their daughter had done. Her mom cried when I showed her Amelia's last journal entry about wanting to help other sick kids. They offered to sell their vacation home to repay the fund, but I couldn't accept that. This mess is Tiffany's responsibility, not theirs. Jordan's struggling to process everything. His school counselor called, he's having trouble concentrating, barely talks to other kids. Finding out your mom stole from sick children to finance a fake reunion with your con man dad. That's heavy stuff for an 11-year-old. His grandparents are looking into specialized therapy for him. The police want to press charges for the credit card fraud and theft. They've dealt with Kevin before. Turns out he's wanted in 2 states for similar scams. Tiffany's looking at serious consequences, but she's still playing victim. She actually told her lawyer that I emotionally manipulated her by keeping Amelia's room unchanged and talking about the memorial fund. Like somehow that justifies stealing from dying kids and lying to everyone. Sandra gave me access to Tiffany's cloud storage, hoping to find evidence for the divorce case. Instead, I found something worse, photos of Tiffany and Kevin in Amelia's room during one of my business trips. They took selfies on Amelia's bed, laughed about the shrine, mocked the photos of Amelia in the hospital. I threw up when I saw those. To disrespect a dead child like that. I can't even find words. The divorce should be finalized soon. Tiffany's lawyer quit after seeing the evidence against her, told her to take whatever deal she's offered. But I'm not feeling vindicated or relieved. Just tired. Tired of discovering new betrayals, tired of watching Jordan suffer for his mother's choices, tired of fighting to protect Amelia's memory. At least now everyone knows the truth. No more accusations about me being heartless or overreacting. Even Tiffany's strongest defenders have gone quiet after seeing those photos from Amelia's room. Some betrayals cut too deep for forgiveness, and Tiffany managed to hit every possible low. Update 3: The divorce is finally over. Tiffany tried one last desperate move, claiming she deserved half of Amelia's remaining funds since it was established during our marriage. The judge shut that down fast, especially after seeing evidence of her theft and fraud. She didn't get a penny from any of our accounts. After the court ruling, Tiffany and Jordan moved in with Kevin. That lasted exactly 16 days. Kevin kicked them out after Tiffany caught him bringing another woman to their hotel room. Turns out he was running the same scam with 3 other women. Tiffany called me crying, begging for another chance. Said she'd get therapy, pay back everything she stole. I blocked her number. Jordan sent me a letter last month. Poor kid wrote that he was sorry about the Disney trip and stealing from sick kids. Said he didn't know where the money came from, thought his mom had saved up for it. He asked if he could keep the Pokemon games I bought him, wasn't sure if that counted as stealing too. Reading that broke my heart all over again. I wrote back telling Jordan none of this was his fault. He's just a kid caught in his mom's mess. Told him he could keep all his games and stuff, they were gifts given with love. Tiffany found out about our letters and went ballistic. She's now demanding Jordan cut all contact with me, says I'm trying to turn him against her. Tiffany and Jordan are living with her parents now. Her dad called me yesterday. Tiffany's been claiming I hid money from her during the divorce. She still doesn't get it. There was no hidden money, she just blew through everything on her fantasy life with Kevin. Her parents are making her get a real job for the first time in years. She's working at a gas station and hates it. The memorial fund is slowly recovering. My company matched what I put in to replace the stolen money. 3 kids are starting college next fall with Amelia's scholarships. One of them wrote me a beautiful letter about losing her sister to cancer too. Said the scholarship helped her family believe in good people again. Tiffany's credit card fraud case is pending. She tried claiming she had my permission to open those accounts, but the evidence proved otherwise. Her lawyer is pushing for a plea deal to avoid jail time. Part of me wants her to face full consequences, but Jordan needs his mom, even if she's a terrible one. Sandra keeps me updated about Jordan. He's doing better in therapy, learning to process everything. His grades are improving again. Tiffany's parents enrolled him in a summer science camp he loves. They're trying to give him stability after all the chaos. Kevin disappeared completely after kicking them out. Police found him running another scam in Texas, targeting single moms through dating apps. He's facing fraud charges there too. Tiffany still cries about him sometimes, according to her mom. Some delusions die hard, I guess. I'm doing okay. Amelia's room is still untouched, but I don't sit there crying anymore. Started dating again last month, nothing serious, just coffee with a nice woman from work. She asked about the photos on my desk, listened to stories about Amelia without getting weird. Didn't try to tell me I needed to move on or let go. Looking back, I'm glad I didn't back down when everyone was calling me heartless for kicking them out. Tiffany showed her true self. She's not just a thief, but someone who could mock a dead child and steal from sick kids. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. I protected Amelia's legacy and that's what matters. Jordan will always have a place in my heart, but I'm done with Tiffany. Her parents are giving Jordan the stability he needs. That's all I can hope for now. Sometimes walking away is the only right choice, even when it hurts.